So again, let's recap. We've looked at preparing for your financial freedom. We've looked at creating a plan to give you clarity on the future. We've looked at getting your money delivering a profit, growth over and above inflation. And we've looked at some of the options you have at retirement to get your income for your later life. So you've essentially got a financial strategy for most sections already in place then. But what we don't know is how things are going to change over time. You know, I said to you right at the start, one of the problems in our industry is that we've had a lot of advisors out there that only really wanted to see you when they thought they could sell you something new. And so that meant that your financial planning gradually stagnated. So what we want to do is have a system in place to make sure that your financial planning progresses with you, changes with that ever-changing life that you've got and the ever-changing legislation you've got. So when I set up Efficient Portfolio, we created the Progressive Review Programme so that our clients' financial planning did evolve with them, really kind of gradually got better and better and better. So as part of the Progressive Review Programme, there's really 5 key areas that we need to ensure that our clients' financial planning is evolving each year in. And you potentially need to cover exactly the same things with your finances. So what are they? Well, the first one is the lifetime cash flow forecast. We looked at the lifetime cash flow forecast earlier, and we said, that's the tool that's going to model what your life looks like in the future. Are you on track to retire when you want to? Are you on track to have enough money till the day you die? Are you on track to do all of the things that are important to you? But of course, each one of those is going to change. How much money you've got in investments, how much money you're spending, how much money you need in the future. All of those things are going to change. So the lifetime cash flow forecast is the tool that each year that says, yes, you're still on track, or actually, no, you're not on track. And if you're not on track, what you need to do in the future to change that and get that future back that you want. So it's vital that you revisit that lifetime cash flow forecast each year to ensure you're heading in the right direction. The next one is then your costs. What are you spending each month? And therefore, if you're pre-retirement, how much can you afford to save? Because it's all very well saying, when people set up pensions at the start of their financial journey, they'll often say, well, I'll put in a couple of £100 a month. And they find that 4 years later, they're still putting in that same £200 a month. So it's vital on an annual basis, as a minimum, you're just thinking, what could I afford to save? How can I creep that up to a better level to really get me to financial freedom much more quickly? In retirement, it's the flip of that, and it's saying, well, actually, what are your expenditure? What's your expenditure likely to be for the year ahead? How much income do we need to draw out of the different tax wrappers to be able to deliver you the income that you need, but have the minimum impact on the portfolio? So we need to look at your costs each year, your running costs. Then we need to look at your changes. So the changes in your situation. Of course, there's always changes going on, but we have to look at the changes in your situation, but also the changes in legislation. Has that presented a new financial planning opportunity for you? And should we be making changes as a result of your ever-changing lifestyle? Next one is charges. I said earlier that you've got companies taking money out of your financial investments through charges. So are the charges that you're paying now still the lowest they could be a year from now or 2 years from now? Could you pay lower charges and still get the same investment returns? Or if it's for insurance products, for example, could you get that same insurance for less money than you're currently paying for it? So it's vital that you review all of that on an annual basis as well. And then finally, maybe most importantly, you've got to review the performance. And so what we've done is build the 5-carat performance review. And again, because there's 5 different elements of performance that we think you need to look at on an annual basis. The first is the competitors. So how are your investments doing compared to all the other competitors out there in the market? You may be getting 10% growth and you're happy with it, but if everyone else is getting 20, you'd want to surely move to those other companies. Equally, if you're only getting 2%, you may be unhappy, but if you know that all of the competitors are only getting minus 1%, then actually, again, you may be happy with that situation. So it's vital that you review the performance of whoever's managing your money with all of the competitors out there in the market, because you want to be confident that you've got the best investment solution possible. The second is the asset allocation. If you remember, I told you that Warren Buffett said that that's the most important aspect of investing your money. So it's vital that we review the asset allocation and make sure that it's in line with the target that we set, because otherwise, as we've already looked at, gradually your portfolio may become riskier and riskier, and we don't want that to happen. So we've got to review that asset allocation to check that it's as we wanted it. Then we've got to look at the growth over and above inflation. Is your money generating the profit that we talked about? When we build a plan for a client, we tell them what the expected growth rate should be each year over and above inflation. So are we getting the expected growth rate above inflation? Are we getting profit on our investments? I touched earlier on the concept of active versus passive investing. Now, whilst I've said for the last 6 years it's been sensible to do active investments, that doesn't mean for the next 6 years that will be right. So we need to review that each year just to say, well, look, if we could get the same returns from passive investments as active and also save some money on charges, then why wouldn't we do that? At the moment, it doesn't look like we can, but that's something that we need to be looking at least annually to make sure that you're in the right strategy possible. And then finally, we need to look at your tolerance to risk. We've already talked about how we assess your risk with behavioural finance, but again, each year that needs revisiting to make sure you're at the right level of risk for your situation going forward. So that, to me, is how you ensure your financial planning progresses with you rather than gradually stagnating.